Let's go. Let's go. So much to get to tonight. It is time to fire Ed Orgeron. There's just no other way around it. Obviously, that sucks. I know it is very personal for a lot of people here because Ed Orgeron did help provide us with the greatest moment we have ever had as LSU fans. But I have to be forthright about this. I think you fire him, and I would debate leaving him on the tarmac to send a message that tonight was simply unacceptable. I like Ed Orgeron a lot, but tonight, with the lack of fight, look, each and every one of you that watches this channel, you're probably a diehard LSU football fan. You buy merch from official merchandise. You watch YouTube all the time. You watch me. Guess what? You have a vested interest in the head coach of the football program. And if you're getting paid $9 million a year with unbelievable buyout money, unbelievable amount of resources, hiring who you want to hire, the excuses from last year, you can't perform the way that we performed tonight. And so far, in basically every game that we've played outside of Mississippi State, we have made our opponent look better than what they actually are. And that is the sign of a deteriorating football team. And look, our best player, arguably ever, if you go by first 13 games or 15 games all time, Kayshon Boutte is up there, one of the greatest 15-game starts in the history of the program. He gets hurt. That's obviously just a representation of where we are right now as a program. I like Ed Orgeron a lot. You guys know that I was critical of him this offseason. I was very skeptical of him going into this season. Of course, me as an LSU fan, I wanted to cheer for him, but tonight's game plan was so dumb, especially knowing you were going up against an offensive coordinator who used to coach for the Rams, and you decided to basically do the same thing that we did against UCLA, which is murderous against a team like Kentucky. And we made their quarterback, Will Levis, look like Cam Newton. We made Bo Nix look like Johnny Manziel. And Max Johnson is deteriorating. Our defense gave up. We're injured every week. There's no adjustments, nothing. And I know a lot of you are sending comments. Thanks for all the super chats. But I wanted to be as clear as I possibly can. We've got to do something about this. This is bad for our brand. And we can't let people – I don't really – I mean, I do care about recruits, but this is just our brand. We are the worst team in the West right now, by far. We are the worst coach team in the West. We might have the worst offense in the West right now. We definitely have the worst defense in the West right now, and we're just bad. We're just bad right now. So I'll get to your super chats now. Welcome in, everyone. We're going to be up for a while. I know there's a lot of competition going on for your eyeballs tonight. We start off here with Max. One of the kings of PHL. All the players were hearing about who was going to replace the coach, not on the game, but about their head coach being fired. I don't know how you let Ed Gump stay because right now he is the distraction on the team. And look, here's the thing if you're Ed Orgeron. And I saw someone post that Ed Orgeron is probably going to lose everything tonight. I don't get too much into Ed Orgeron's personal life. But I will say this, what happened this week and kind of what's happened away from the football team. You guys know I don't get too deep into personal life. I stick mostly with football, but players do begin to think if you're starting to take this job seriously. And tonight's game plan was so bad. It was so bad. We did the same thing we did versus UCLA, which is nefarious. It's stupid because all they did was wash our guys upfield and they ran right underneath it. You can't do that against a really good run blocking team. And we talked about this. We talked about that this week. So go Tigers. Don't get it twisted. I'm still a fan of this program, but I would be sunshine pumping if I told you something else. Okay. And we'll get into Max Johnson. But yeah, this stream is going to be a doozy. Grant, my classmate from LSU, thank you so much for your super chat. Ed Orgeron, please report to the principal's office. I know Black Goatee, you're going to be lit tonight. Trey, this stinks. It all stinks. Something has to change. Look, it doesn't matter where you're watching from. Of course, whoever you are, you have no impact on who is going to be the next head coach. However, you as a fan, you do fund the program. You do. Whether you're buying merch, some of you are members of TAF, some of you are thinking about not making your TAF donation, which that's totally up to you. There's a lot of you contemplating a lot of things around this program right now. Look, you deserve a say. You deserve a say. If there's any booster or power at B, I will say this. I did get information that that some people do watch this channel. I never pay attention outside of the people that are in the live stream. I think it is time. I think it is time. And you guys know I'm not one to overreact. You know I'm not hot take. I always have reasons for why I should do something, right? And we'll get into Max Johnson, if they should move to Garrett Nussmeier. We'll get into the defense. We'll get into the different schemes. We'll talk about tonight because each and every college football game is precious. But the bottom line is the two people that we are going to focus most of tonight on is Scott Woodward and Ed Orgeron. Those are the only two people that matter right now. Obviously, let me say this, because there's obviously some Kentucky Wildcats that watch this channel. King Robert with the super chat. Thank you so much, King Robert. I appreciate you. One of our many cancer warriors on PHL, which is pretty interesting. So if you're fighting the evil C, Robert is right there with you. My running coach, Leslie, is actually fighting a recently diagnosed breast cancer. So, you know, getting to know Robert, getting to know Reggie, getting to know a lot of our cancer warriors on PHL. Just know that we are fighting alongside with you. Okay. So everyone show Robert some love. He's always dropping the big super chats and making sure I can pay my rent. It's fun getting to do this full time. So look, let me say this before I continue to any of your super chats. Anything I say tonight has nothing personal to do with Ed Orgeron. I like Ed Orgeron. I like everyone on this team. Everybody that I'm critical of, it's coming from a place of love. I don't just say I think Max Johnson played bad just because, just to say it. I'm going to give you good reasons for why I say what I say. And the bottom line is Ed Orgeron is bad. He's the worst coach in the SEC. There's not a close second right now. He's by far the worst. He's by far the worst. And Mo Funky, you were right there with him. You really were. So let's get through some of these super chats. No, you and Max, presidents of the PHL New York City chapter. I can't wait to go up there and see you. Ed did not look like a man fighting for his job. Max crumbles under pressure. Tackling was lacking. We stink. Let's start with the first thing. Ed Orgeron basically this year has looked so nonchalant on the sideline, especially there at the end. You've got to be screaming into your headset, hurry, hurry, hurry. And then we were methodically down, we were down, 21? And we were still breaking the huddle? What are we doing? Max crumbles under pressure. This was Max's worst game of his career. And I didn't think we could get lower than the McNeese game. This was bad. Max was really bad tonight. Tackling was lacking. I think it had more to do with scheme, but the tackling was bad. And we just suck right now. Okay? Look, you could be an LSU football fan and at the same time say, we suck. This is not rah-rah LSU football chatter. We're honest about the team that we love. If I wasn't a big LSU fan, I would be furious. I know. I just want him gone immediately. He has broken the program. King Robert says it's time to change. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with Sean B there. Let's go out there and get us a Kim Mulkey. I like that. I'm very sad. I want this team to do well, but man, tonight was hard to watch, and the schedule only shows it's getting worse, but hope for the future still. I'll tell you this, Arkansas and Ole Miss has beaten us by 10, no less than 10 points. And we have double the amount of 4 stars those guys have. So, look, there's some coaches that Scott Woodward's going to look at on both of those sidelines. Sam Pittman's not going anywhere, though. So yeah, I've got to say, I've got to say this. Here's what we'll do. Tuesday, we'll talk more about the rest of the season. We're mostly going to focus on the Kentucky game tonight. Liam Shanahan was even worse tonight, like straight garbage. Blake, I'm actually going to defend Liam. I thought tonight was a lot better compared to how he played compared to last week. He was really, really bad last week. Tonight, he was slightly better. I think the bigger issue, though, is Ed Ingram. I think it's just time to move on. Just play somebody else because he's taking up reps from somebody else, and he's going to try and go to the NFL next year anyway. And I think he'll make it to the Senior Bowl just based on his raw talent alone. How do you salvage this season and try to retain our recruits and our underclassmen? Disappointment to see a team play with no heart or pride. Well, look, the bottom line is, this is a really good super chat. I thought LSU played hard. I do feel like, though, there is a difference between giving up. So giving up is what the end of the Houston Nutt tenure looks like. So Houston Nutt, he was at Ole Miss in 2011. And I don't know if you guys remember, but we beat them 52-3. I was on the sideline and players just weren't paying attention. They just weren't paying attention. I thought our players played hard, mostly because we do have a mostly young team. But there is a difference between playing hard and playing lost. And tonight, our guys played lost. In other words, they feel like it feels as if they were playing hard, but they were playing like a pee-wee football team hard, which is basically playing football with your head cut off. We were over-penetrating plays. We weren't keying our run. I'm not going to lie. The first touchdown given up was one of the worst blown coverages I think I've ever seen from Bug Strong, where there is no running back in the backfield. It was a clear man coverage assignment, and it was blown and picked on. So it's the bottom line. That was on Bug Strong. That was the worst play. Okay. But see, as long as we have recruiting, don't fall through. Yeah, we will be okay. Florida is ready to massacre us next week. Ooh, that's an 11 a.m. kickoff. I am very worried about the attendance for that one. If we're giving out free tickets, I kind of want to go. Reggie, one of our cancer warriors. There we go. We got a lot of people fighting the evil C on this channel. Just know we are behind you. And Reggie also is a member of the Booger Band Club. 1 for 10, 2 for 15, 3 for 20. And as we always do on a game day, if you do get a Booger Bands, guess what? We're hooking up with a Joe Burrow rookie card with your order. Who will be the interim head coach? I don't know. I would guess it would be a veteran on the staff. That's probably going to be Mickey Joseph or Corey Raymond. So it'll either be one of those two. I don't think it should be a first-year coordinator, though. Robert, thank you again for another very generous super chat. Robert says, I hate to say it, but we have to change things on Sunday. Okay, let me do this. Before we get to Rai's second super chat here, when I made bad grades, my parents didn't tell me I was doing great. If you care about someone, you need to be honest about their performance. Absolutely. Ed Orgeron is so – here's the thing. You know, at least Jimbo Fisher's putting up a fight tonight. When Kayshon went down, a part of me died. Please pray that it's very minor. He's the heart of our offense. And honestly, I would shut him down. I would be very conservative about this. Our season's gone. He already has so many miles on his legs just dating back to the end of last season. I know he's very young. I would shut him down for the near future. I know that sucks. Every game is precious. I hate doing that. We got young guys. We got plenty of wide receivers. We don't have another Kayshon on the team, unfortunately. Maybe that's Malik Neighbors. So he had a great game tonight. Still, the bottom line is this. I think you shut him down, though. There's no way. It would be very irresponsible to play him versus Florida. And I will punch someone in the face if they rush him out there against Florida. Prayers for Reggie and Robert. There you go. Okay, so Reggie brought this up. This is his super chat right here. I know you can't talk about O's personal life, but I can't say Ed didn't stay humble at all, and that was his downfall. So I spoke to someone I trust a lot, Lon Phillips, and the LSU Odyssey. I talked to him this week, and Lon actually does talk to a lot of college football recruits, and this is what Lon told me. And I reached out to Lon. I said, is it okay if I share this with my viewers? And he said, yeah, go on ahead. According to Lon, he is rubbing recruits the wrong way. Ed Orgeron. I know that sounded a little weird, pause, but it's true. I just think Ed Orgeron just got a little too arrogant. Well, he got a lot too arrogant after the national championship game. He said, look, I'm going to run this 4-man front, which is fine, but I'm not going to modify it. We're going to run this thing like we used to in 2003, which we won a national championship run that front. But guess what? You know who doesn't run that front anymore? Nick freaking Saban, who was actually the coach at the time. Ed Orgeron got arrogant about that. He said, look, I got the best defensive lineman I could possibly get. We got 5 stars up front. We got good transfers. We're just going to win games like that. And you simply can't do that anymore. And, you know, so many of you would say, Carter, you just hate the 4-3. No, I don't. I hate the way that we do it. So tonight, just to get into a little bit more about tonight, you know, this is a sign of Ed Orgeron's arrogance. We never stemmed our defensive linemen. So what does that tell you? That tells you that Ed Orgeron thinks our defensive linemen can just dominate each and every snap, which is unsustainable. A perfect example of this early in the game. Mason Smith made a huge play in the backfield, right? So guess what Kentucky did? They ran essentially a different variation of the play. We didn't do anything different defensively. And on the very next play, Mason Smith was driven 6 yards back on a double team, and they picked up a 30-yard rush. That's because we ran the same exact defensive front. And when you're going up against an NFL offensive coordinator, which is what we faced tonight, this guy was from the Rams. Sean McVay is probably the best play caller on the planet right now, definitely the best in the NFL. And he said, look, I'm going to run a different variation because I know they're going to line up in the same front because I know that's an Ed Orgeron coach team. And that is essentially what I'm talking about. You can no longer play this game where you just have the better players in the other team, okay? You just can't do that anymore, right? You got to have variations of what you're going to do defensively. And LSU kept doing the same exact things over and over and over again. So why? And I know some of you are probably thinking, well, what happened in 2019? Well, what made us so good in 2019 was, number one, we had Dave Aranda, who was a master of not showing you the same thing over and over. And we also had Joe Burrow, who always figured out whichever defensive scheme you were going to run. A perfect example of this was, if you actually go look at the quarter-by-quarter breakdown, LSU scored their most points in the second quarters of games. So that means it took us a little while to figure out what they were doing. Well, the exact opposite has actually happened under Ed Orgeron these last couple of seasons. If you go look at the quarter-by-quarter breakdowns, we've actually been pretty good in first quarters the last couple of seasons. We've actually been pretty good in second quarters. Where we begin to fail, though, was at the end of second quarters, third quarters, and the early fourth quarter. So what does that tell you? That is a sign of teams with very simple game plans, very simple schematics, all of that. And I did a 30-minute video on this in the offseason. The bottom line is this. We were too stale. We were too static in our recruiting. We were too static in who we were bringing in. We were too static in our coaching and our schemes, what different looks we were showing you. Guys got a little complacent. I'm not going to lie, our guys looked, especially last year, a little out of shape. And quite frankly, we never did the little things right to win. I don't know how many games. Sometimes you get unlucky and you lose games, right? But really, how many games did we deserve to lose? Basically all of them, right? Last year, we deserved to lose to Mississippi State. We deserved to lose to Missouri. There was more games that we deserved to lose that we won than vice versa, right? So right now, Ed Orgeron's running a soft program. We're soft at the point of attack. Our trench play is awful on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And that's what Ed Orgeron, if there's one thing you think he would be strong at, would be that. We get pushed around at the point of attack. We do. We do. The blitz package, there is no cheetah package. This is a good point right here from King Ulysses. Why wouldn't we just try a three-man front or a variation of a different 4-3 front? No, we kept doing the simple 3-tech, 1-tech, 2 defensive ends. Teams, that's so elementary. And this is kind of ironic because the knife is not only in the back of Ed Orgeron right now, it is also in the back of his mentor, Pete Carroll. They're both high motivators, affable guys, gets a lot of players on board behind what they're saying, but they're outdated. And that's essentially where we are right now with both of them. This is a good comment here from Blake. Thank you for the super chat. Our offense seems stale week in and week out. Pete's is extremely underperformed, and it's obvious he isn't good enough to hang in the SEC. I would disagree with that, Blake. I thought Jake called actually a pretty good game. The run game was there, and it played a little bit better. The run blocking, once again, Ed Ingram missed such a big block early in this game. I did a film breakdown of it on Twitter. I might show it to you a little bit later. I thought Jake was okay tonight. I'm not going to lie. We'll talk about Max a little bit later. This was Max's worst game. He was really bad tonight. The early sack and fumble really got to the back of him. And part of Max's issue is he is easily rattled. I think between the ears, he lets things get to him a little too easy, and it shows in his play. He's a really good SEC quarterback, just based on everything that we've seen. We've seen him go out there and play really well. The bottom line is mentally he is not ready to be an SEC championship quarterback. And this goes back to the history of LSU football. Once again, we did a huge breakdown on this in the offseason, but there is one quarterback stat, and I'll share it with you right now. No LSU quarterback in the modern era has ever succeeded starting in their second year of development. Every single one that has had to start from year 2 on, or year 2 or below, ended up failing. Okay, so Justin Jefferson, Jarrett Lee, and they were fine, but they weren't great. Anthony Jennings, they just start too early. Whereas every LSU quarterback that has started year 3 in their development or later has turned out to be great. Matt Flynn, Jamarcus Russell, Joe Burrow, Zach Mettenberger. List goes on and on. Even Danny Etling to a certain degree. Max is just not ready. He lacks some touch on his passes. The deep middle is an issue. Also, I tweeted this out, and I also put this in the chat. We've got to quit playing Trey Palmer at wide receiver. It's not because Trey is bad. It's the opposite. It's that Trey and Max have no chemistry. When Trey is open, Max doesn't throw a good ball. When when Max hits Trey in the numbers, he drops it. They just don't have any chemistry together. Quit playing Trey. They have no chemistry unless it is a wide open touchdown. I don't know how LSU's coaches can't see this. It's pretty simple. The two don't work well together. And just based on offseason workouts that I've seen, I don't know if Trey and Max worked out that much together this offseason. They might have, but they just have no chemistry. They're always just a little bit off. I don't know why it's the case. The president of PHL has spoken. Pete's called good plays. Max's execution was awful. Holds the ball too long, overthrows over the middle, and underthrows deep balls. I agree. And I like Max a lot. I really do. He is Max is regressing. He's regressing really bad. Let's see here. I was going to defective him, but then realized I'm not attracted to my cousins or siblings. Oh, man. Punch up, not down, Alabama. I saw this coming early in the season. I sat at the alarm team. Now we see it. So code Black Shepherd down. The master blastered is sick of it. Tony, my guy, I love you. Really, and also Tony is a former Joe Burrow card winner. Once again, next person that gets booger bands, 3 for 20, hooking you up with a Joe Burrow card. We're also going to give out more Joe Burrow cards later because I am in a good mood tonight. Really disappointed in linebacker and secondary play this year. Go Tigers. Yeah, Howie, I think part of that goes down to the scheme, though. I'm telling you, okay? Let's talk about this, okay? I don't think Micah Baskerville and Damon Clark are good players, but they both played their best games against Mississippi State, where LSU was running a 3-man front. And, this doesn't absolve them. Obviously, Bug Strong has not been that great. He's not great in coverage, and he's getting picked on every game. Picked on against UCLA. He was picked on again tonight. I thought Kentucky basically took a lot of what UCLA did versus us and applied it tonight. They attacked Bug Strong in coverage. They ran counters where we over-penetrated it, and it was bad. It wasn't just counters, though. They ran duo. They did so many different things. So I defend Howie in this. However, I hate it when Ed Orgeron continues to lie to us. We did not see Sage Ryan tonight, which was a disappointment. There's a lot of Sage Ryan fans that watch this channel. In fact, someone that is close to him reached out to me this week and said that they were excited that I talked about him this week. I don't know what the deal was. I don't even think I saw him dressed out. So, yeah, the linebacker and secondary play wasn't great. And once again, Howie, I think so much of linebacker and safety play comes down to your scheme and your positioning. And I think we are just too vanilla, okay? And I understand that Durante Jones has a lot of love on this channel, especially for me because he's in a really difficult spot. But I think we overblown what happened last week. Bo Nix looked really bad today. He's looked bad overall. He had a career game against us. For the second straight week, we allowed a mediocre quarterback to have their best career game against us. This is one of those cases where, if one of your players is starting against the New York Jets in fantasy football, they're going to go off. That's essentially what's happening to LSU right now. Every quarterback is licking their chops. I mean, did you see, the two best quarterbacks in the SEC right now? We haven't even played them. KJ Jefferson and Matty Corral, who lit us up last year, even though he turned the football over a lot. We're just bad. We're too easy to read, and it's a major issue. It's a major issue. So, Howie, you are right. The linebacker and safety play isn't great. We don't have a Devin White. We don't have a Jamal Adams. But honestly, LSU kills Vanderbilt. They're bad. It is funny, though, at this point. I kind of feel this way right here by Reggie. LSU is not a bad team. It's a team that has a bad head coach, period. LSU is not a great team. They're not bad, though. We should not be this bad, right? It's all scheme. I wouldn't quite say it's all scheme. I do believe in personal responsibility to a certain extent. 2 or 3 not good as one. Thank you for a super chat. Tyson Fury wins tonight. There's no point in buying the fight. I'm telling you what's going to happen. Injuries have played a part in this too. That is certainly right, Carvis. Once again, we don't know if this is even the defense Durante Jones wants to run. So yeah. Alabama's winning, of course. I mean, in what world could our night actually get a, I'm not gonna lie, I love seeing Alabama lose just because they're that good. But sometimes just kind of like, you gotta come. Let's see here. Alabama up 38-31. Yeah. I shouldn't even be paying attention to it. I'm just looking for something. What position group had a good game tonight? Long snapper. What position group had a good game tonight? The freshman wide receivers had another good night tonight. Brian Thomas Jr. dropping. This was a step back for BTJ, who's put together some good games. He should have caught that ball in the back of the end zone. The freshman wide receivers had another good game tonight. Maybe Jay Ward. Maybe. Man. Cade York, the long snapper. And Ty Davis Price. So let's go to the stat sheet. Okay. Share screen right here. And boom. Okay. Let's take a look at this. All right. Let's look at the total stats. This is a number I always look at right here. Okay. 7.7 average yards per play. Not good. Okay. That's the number I always focus on right there. Yards per play, 5.6, 7.7. So we were dominating. That's the thing, Sip G, they couldn't because, we got behind the sticks too often tonight. Yeah, it wasn't Jack's best game, but he didn't get good balls tonight. Obviously, Malik was our best wide receiver tonight, and Kayshon when he was healthy. Let's see. Alabama's the only team in the West that has better talent than us, but when you have a coach whose ego has gotten so big, yeah, I agree with that. Alabama's the only team in the West that has more raw talent than us. You can make a case for Texas A&M. Once again, they're not being coached the absolute best. It's time to step back, change coaching, albeit whoever get back to LSU football. That's the thing, Rob. I don't know how much of a facelift LSU really needs right now, though. Like, Addison Ed Orgeron is such a massive problem. I think I think the first thing that needs to happen is obviously we need to figure out who the interim is going to be if Scott Woodward decides to make a decision right now. I will tell you this, Bruce Feldman is probably going to be the reporter that breaks the news first. I just don't know when that news is actually going to happen. Has LSU rushed for 500 yards total this season? I don't know, Derek. I do know this was our first time. Leon, welcome to the channel. I think it's your first time. We always want to make first-timers feel welcome, Leon. If you are watching this, a friendly reminder, we do a live film study every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central. So tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, we will have a live film study on this channel, breaking everything down. I think it's going to be Mickey Joseph or Corey Raymond. I agree. So once again, Full disclosure, I don't want tonight to be head coach speculation talk. At least for right now, let's focus on this game tonight, and let's go from there. I want to talk a little bit more about Kentucky really quickly. Obviously, Chris Rodriguez is really good. Dare Rosenthal pushed us around. That offensive line pushed us around. We were soft. And we honestly just over-penetrate plays. And we gave up too many easy touchdowns. The issue with Ed Orgeron isn't the fact that we are losing. It's that our defense doesn't put up resistance. Sometimes people score untouched touchdowns. But if you were to, I might do this. If we were to cut up highlights of every touchdown LSU has given up in the last 2 seasons, I would guess 75% of them were untouched touchdowns, as in they scored without any resistance, like wide open people, pitch and catch. And that's the issue. Okay. I don't give a rip if they go out there and back shoulder us all night. I don't give a rip if they go out there and carry our guys down the field. I'm fine with that. At least show resistance. And that's been the issue with that Orgeron. Our defense has no resistance. We just let them score. This is a good question. Do we even make a bowl game? Okay. I don't know. So let me do this right here. Okay. Type Y for yes, type in for no. And I want you to rationally make this decision. Who thinks Ed Orgeron should be fired in the next 24 hours? Okay. Who thinks Ed Orgeron should be fired in the next 24 hours? My little cousin's birthday was tonight, and I skipped it. Tony, it's interesting. Welcome to the channel, Mr. Alave. Welcome. Oh, gotta go. Grant says, I don't like leaving on the tarmac. I agree with you. That's a little harsh. My tweet on that earlier was from Aaron Torres, national media member, and I think he was more so making a joke. But yeah, I do think this is kind of a tarmac game, though. And what for those who don't know, a tarmac game is when you fire the coach and you don't let him fly back with the team. That's only happened once with USC, but man, I don't know. Kedrick, thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate you, Kedrick. Thank you so much. So, PLG, the tarmac is where it's like the ground of where planes take off. So, the tarmac is at the airport. Well, he's not going to resign. That means he won't get his buyout. I don't think you should leave him on the tarmac. But yeah. Aaron. So Aaron is a national media member. He's one of my best friends, and he says he should buy his tickets like the rest of us. Huh? What's the rationale of letting him finish a losing season? That's a good question, Noel. And there is a lot. So this is kind of wild. But there are some things you can do as an athletic director to avoid paying Ed Orgeron his buyout money. So Scott Woodward is a smart guy. There is no way LSU is just going to fire Ed Orgeron and hand him a $17 million check. They're going to have to get their lawyers involved and Ed Orgeron's lawyers involved and figure out if there's a middle ground for them to just sign a check. Here's what I think is going to happen, Noel. I think Ed Orgeron will get a check for $10 million, and that'll be it, right? You middle ground it, you give him a check for $10 million, and then you go elsewhere. Also, I'll share this. A former player for Bo Pelini reached out to me recently and said, Carter, you do understand last year was not Bo Pelini's game. And I was like, oh, really? And he was like, well, yeah, I played under him. He wouldn't have done what he did last year. I think Ed Orgeron meddles more than we probably think. TD A&M. Well, I'll never say let's go Aggies, but I just did. Recruiting. Yeah, it's true. Man, I'm glad you brought this up, Carvis. I do think LSU is about to catch a major break in that the 2021 cycle already kind of looks like one of LSU's best recruiting classes ever. Okay? So here's the thing. Jaheim brings this up, and welcome to the channel, Jaheim. I think this is your first live chat. Fire him for conduct. That's the thing. When you fire somebody for conduct, you don't have to pay him the buyout. Okay? So what I want to do is show you this. Okay? And I want to go back to Carvis's point about recruiting. Okay? Let me show you guys this right here. Okay? Share screen. Okay? And I want to show you this. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through this 2021 recruiting cycle, and this is this is what you have to do. This cycle looks like it has a bunch of hits. Okay, one hit. Sage Ryan's going to be good when he gets healthy. Deion Smith's a hit. Brian Thomas Jr. is a hit. So that's 4 guys. Gary Dellinger looks good. That's 5 guys. Corey Kiner, Armani Goodwin, they're playing a lot. We'll call it 6. Let's see. Malik Neighbors looks really good. 7, 8. So 8 players already in the class of 2021 looks like they're really good football players. That's a lot because I did some counting the other day. The 2019 class, which this is year 3 for them, there's only about 2 or 3 of those guys actually playing right now. So the good news is that even if LSU's recruiting does kind of stink this cycle, they had a really good 2021 cycle, and they also had a good 2020 cycle for the most part. So we'll see. It's tough being an LSU fan. Go Tigers, Big Mac. Let's go. Mac is back. Huh? 50 megaton hydrogen bomb. I know Sipchi, and you know Dave Aranda is enjoying every bit of this. I don't care. And Dave Aranda doesn't seem like a person that holds all these special kind of vendettas or anything like that. I just don't think I just think he can care less about Ed Orgeron, but I do think there's a piece of him that's really enjoying this. I think the same could be said about Jeff Grimes. Bama is a joke tonight. Well, Bama is a joke every night. No head coaching talk tonight? I thought every time you said defensive scheme, defensive look, you meant to say, I don't know what you mean by that, Sean. Welcome. Why was O so against Aranda? Well, it's simple. Ed Orgeron didn't like Dave Aranda's three-man front because the three-man front doesn't have your defensive tackles penetrating 20 yards upfield. Okay. Ed Orgeron's just a 4-3 guy. And I think what happened was he wanted to go down with this 4-3 defense. Hubris. That's all it is. It's okay to be down on O, but remember he was part of the best team in LSU history. Let him go, pay him his due, and move on. I think so, Rob. I don't. Once again, I owe Ed Orgeron the happiest time of my life. I got to go to the national championship game with my dad, and that's the happiest moment of my life. And I owe Ed Orgeron everything for that. But he got more money, right? And when he got more money, nobody was asking him to, you got to go win a national championship again, like right now. We weren't even looking for that. We were just looking for competency. But, once again, I'm going to touch on this just for a second, okay? I think the money got to him. You see what money can do to you? I think the fame got to him. 60 Minutes came. Wrote a book. All these different things happened in his life. And he was a coach that wasn't willing to change, right? And he made the smart move to delegate responsibility, which is smart. But I still think there are some things that we lacked between the headset with Ed Orgeron. Conservative on fourth down. I hate that. You just go down if you do it. I hate conservatism on fourth down. I also hate I just feel as if we play tentative. We became a softer football team. Rob, I think you would agree with that. We were softer. And also the 2020, I do think the pandemic came back to hurt Ed Orgeron. He did not do a good job adapting around that as well. So, yeah. We will not chat about Urban Meyer tonight unless you super chat. Because I have a few things I want to say about Urban Meyer. But I'm going to save it for Tuesday. But if you guys want to talk Urban Meyer or if you want to talk the next head coach, I do have a few sleeper candidates out there. But, we'll wait until a little bit later. We'll get a few more super chats in there. Okay. Jesse, that's one way to put it. They are a basketball school, and they did beat us down. Yeah, the offense is very inconsistent. It was good to see TDP go off though tonight, and I'm not gonna lie, Carvis, you were the first to say TDP was going to have a big year. He didn't. Ironically, Carvis, most of your predictions are right. And you owned up to being wrong about TDP. But tonight we saw Ty Davis Price have a really good game. 22 carries for 147. That's pretty good. Trey, thank you for your very generous Venmo. Let me see. Okay, the same question here. If we get a new, and by the way, Venmo Cash App is preferred. So thanks for that, Trey. I appreciate that. If we get a new coach and the defense is mostly a three-man front, do any current D-line get caught out of position? Does it help any of the current D-line? That's a good question, Trey. So Ironically, Siaki Ika was a really good football player, even when he had to play in the 4-3, which isn't necessarily a scheme fit. The issue with that, with this Trey, is that you can still run a 4-man front. The problem is LSU, the way that they run their 4-man front is way too predictable. Okay. In other words, if you run a basic 4-man front, the way that LSU runs it, you better have Alan Page, Refrigerator Perry, prime Glenn Dorsey up the middle, and your defensive ends better freaking be Marquise Hill, Mean Joe Green, whoever you want to mention. You've got to be elite across the way. And even then, I don't think that would work, simply because when you run the 4-man defensive front the way that LSU runs it, the back half of it can be very predictable, and it's very easy to manipulate the spaces. It's kind of hard to explain without the actual film, and I'm oversimplifying it. But basically, what I like about a 3-man front is that it is way harder to determine what people are going to do after the snap. So part of why Bo Nix tore us up so much last week was because he didn't have to worry about blitzers. He knew all he had to do was outrun those 4 rushers, and he could make something out of nothing, which is essentially what happened. Whereas against Georgia, and I didn't get to watch most of it, is number one, Georgia just has way better athletes than we do right now. But number 2 is they have guys coming from different directions. And what the 2019 LSU defense did a really good job of was we weren't necessarily elite in the trenches, but we were very consistent there. We had some bad games, but for the most part, that front did a really good job of giving you different looks. Also, the personnel changed so much in our 2019 defense towards the end of the year that it was part of the reason why Jalen Hurts sucked against us, because he had no idea how to deal with the speed that we had coming from all different types of directions. Whereas now, the way our defensive line was tonight was the way that we were going to come at them. And that is part of the reason why I think we should go back to a 3-man front or do different variations of a 4-man front. So if we do go back to a 3-man front, obviously you do have to recruit different types of players, but this is how I've always felt about defensive linemen. It's either you can play or you can't. And, I do think some of our defensive linemen are a little overrated, or they are a little out of place. So we'll see. Bama lost? No, Bama didn't lose. Bama did not lose. Don't you dare tell me that Bama lost. What happened? How did they go down? How did Bama go down? I'll have to watch the highlights later. See what I have to do? I'm the one that's going through torture right now. I'm the one that's having to miss Alabama. Down goes Bama. Field goal. Let's go. But Jimbo was worth all that money. Here's the thing that kind of sucks, is even though our team is very flawed, I don't think we've been beaten by a good team yet. UCLA stinks. Mississippi State, not that great. We won that game, but still barely. Auburn's obviously not that great. They almost lost to Georgia State. And Kentucky played their best game of the season tonight. People, there's only one good team in college football. And you know who that is, right? Iowa. Kidding. They're good. But nobody's great. The best team in the country right now is being quarterbacked by a frat dude named Stetson. Stetson! The best team in the country's quarterback's name is Stetson. This is a wasted year. Only Georgia's good. Only Georgia's dominant. They're the only team. They're the only team. Okay? Mm. Mm. Who wants Jimbo Fisher now? Field goal last second. Plum, you join in late. I knew Plum. Plum is, I'm not going to lie, I know Plum a little bit. Plum is petty. Plum said, I wasn't joining the live stream. I just wanted to see Bama go down. I like Plum. Plum is a real SEC football fan. Okay? You could be an LSU football fan like me, and you focus mostly in on LSU. But as long as the rest of college football is burning down, you're fine with it. And college football is burning the F down right now. Okay? I don't know if anybody's good in the SEC West. I don't know a single good SEC West team. Arkansas might be the best SEC West team, right? They got very unlucky that they had to play Georgia this year in Georgia as their one SEC non-cross division rival. You see, I knew it. Plum is petty, okay? Carvis knows Plum is petty AF. So this is part of it too. And I want to touch on this. Morgan has been very generous to the channel, especially early on. Morgan really helped me turn this into a full-time dream for me. And I do want to touch some time. And he and I philosophically disagree on some things, but I do agree with this. Okay. I understand that a lot of people from the outside looking in are going to look at us and say, look, y'all are ungrateful in Baton Rouge. You don't know what it's like to be fan X of a team that has never won a national championship. And you Destin wants to talk about Billy Napier. Okay, I'll touch on that in a second. But let me finish this really quickly. Okay. Here's the thing. I'll give you one disastrous year. In fact, I'll give you 2 disastrous years, okay? But it depends on how you lose games, okay? It depends on how you lose games, okay? We shouldn't be losing the games the way that we're losing them, okay? And as Morgan points out, Justin Fields pointed this out in a press conference. Ironically, Nick Saban even pointed this out this week. These games are so precious. And every time LSU runs out on the field and puts out a lifeless effort, that sucks, okay? It especially sucks for someone like me and loyal viewers of the channel, which is most of you. We talk about LSU football 24/7, 365. And right now, we suck. We're not even putting up a fight. We're giving up easy touchdowns. Okay. So that's the issue. Okay. Desmond, thank you for the super chat. How many of you, let me put it this way. How many of you have Billy Napier as your number one candidate? Like, I'm not out of anyone. Desmond wants to know. And Desmond, comment right now. Here we go. So Desmond wants to talk about Billy Napier. Desmond, what is this in your background here? And Desmond, my final thought on that before I got to your super chat. My final thought is college football, when we lose these games this easily, it sucks. It sucks for the Neil Farrells and the older guys on this team, the Austin Deculases, that they're running around with their heads cut off. James Franklin after today? Kidding. James Franklin's really talented. He's not on my top 5 list, though. So, Desmond, tell me this. Exactly. Scheme matters. Self-censorship? What did I say? Huh? What did I self-censor? You can't censor me. I'm not getting canceled tonight. Kidding. Why would Billy lead the best team in Louisiana? That was a good one, Perry. Okay, I'm not one for morals. I'm not going to talk about it. Orgeron's ex-wife. Jason, you said you were going to super chat in the post game. I appreciate you. Brazelton, Georgia's in the building, or is it Brazelton? Get James Franklin. Okay. I'm not even mad LSU lost anymore. I'm just happy Bama lost. Jesse is not on the Billy Napier train. Reggie says, and by the way, Reggie is a member of the Booker Band Club. There you go. We need a coach who is happily married. Not just married, they have to be happily married. Okay? So the next head coach is going to get questions about their married life. So, do you and Susie have brunch? Are you happy? Do you guys go on vacation together? No more midlife crisis coaches. I'll tell you this, Reggie, and I'll touch on the personal life thing just for a little bit. As badly as Ed Orgeron coached, there's no way I can think with some of the game plans that he's had that he is that clueless. I do think some of his personal life has bled over into his coaching profession. As you guys know, I don't like to get too deep in a coach's personal life. I thought the prank call last week was tasteless, but still. I do think off the field stuff is catching up to him. And it would not shock me if there's something that we just quite frankly don't know yet. There's one, I could just feel it. This is just a feeling. I think there's one behind the scenes piece that will come about what's actually happening to this program. Because the fact that we thought the game plan that we ran today was going to work is lunacy. Okay. Also, we did a video about this week. There was a 5-star defensive lineman who flew in for the LSU Auburn game last week on his own dime from the state of Washington, and Coach O didn't say anything to him, which showed me that he's kind of packing his bags. This is a good question here. Is the SEC East better than the West this year? So 1 through 7, probably not, because South Carolina and Vanderbilt are so bad. And all 7 of the SEC West teams have some talent. They aren't lifeless like those 2 teams. But 1 through let me put it this way. The 1 through 5 of the SEC East is probably better than the 1 through 7. I wouldn't even say that, because Ole Miss and Arkansas are pretty good programs this year. So I would still say the West is better than the East. I would. Please don't cursing, Howie. Please don't drop F-bombs. Please. I almost put that up. Brendan Caldwell. So one of the few members of the Golden Band from Tigerland that is a supporter of PHL. If we're going to pay someone $5 to $8 million per year, the new head coach needs to meaningfully contribute to offensive scheme. Okay, I actually agree with that. And if I do get, let me put it this way. Okay, I am going to sucker in a super chat. Okay, there is one head coach who is number 1 on my list right now. Right now, it is a do whatever it takes to get this coach right now name on my list. That might change. I'll do more research on this after the film study for tomorrow. But let me put it this way. If I get a $50 super chat, okay, I got to get this. I got to get this out, man. I got bills to pay. Haley went to Nashville with my credit card. I got a bill to pay. I'm kidding. Haley actually did better than I thought with my credit card in Nashville. But I'll give my number 1 candidate out if we get a $50 super chat right now. In fact, I'll give my top 2 candidates right now for a $100 super chat. Okay? I will give my number 1 candidate right now. And I'll give my top 2 candidates. I'll do this. I'll give my top. I was actually going to save this for a video this week. If I get a $100 super chat right now, I'll give my top 2 candidates, and I will give a deep sleeper of a head coach that has not been mentioned by anyone. But it's so deep. And if he ended up being the coach, I would actually be disappointed, even though I like him a lot. Who's getting up at 9 in the morning to watch Jets and Falcons? Wait, what is Roblox? What's Roblox coin? Is that a crypto? Is it like Doge? PLG? Oreos are perfect. Huh? I'll take Roblox coin. What's up, Blake? Good to see you, man. Let's get 10 people to super chat $5. Part of the reason why I don't want to talk about potential coaches is that we're going to be talking about it nonstop when the firing actually happens. So what we will do is we'll actually pull up the quotes here. Who is this? I'm trying to find the trying to find Ed Orgeron's quotes here. Here we go. I mean, we just don't get good post-game audio right now. Let's see here. Sorry, bro. Got a baby on the way. $100 not in the budget right now. I love it, man. You do get to see Walker Howard play, though. You're a lucky guy. Simplified. Can't wait to meet you one day. Hey, let me ask you guys this. How many of you would like to do a meetup for the Arkansas game? Tickets are definitely going to be cheap by then, especially with the A&M game around the corner and the ULM game around the corner. Who would like to do a meetup for the Bama game? If I put together like a comedy show or something like that on the Friday before, would you guys like to do some comedy show, meet and greet, whatever? Would you want to do one? Simplify said he'd be down. Any chance for Joe Brady? Reed, these aren't antics, baby. Let's see. I'm still not ready to start nuts just yet, but Reed, I mean, you're starting to be you're pretty spot on about your skepticism about Max. Jimbo's connections in Florida, Texas, and LA would kill it at LSU. I'll tell you this. Jimbo's definitely good enough to win a national championship at LSU. Okay. He's definitely good enough. Okay. Will you do films? Okay, let's go to here. Will you do a film study detailing how Max's accuracy takes a nosedive after the first quarter? It seems to be a pattern for him. It's why we stall out. So we are at $10 in super chats. If we get the next 40, I'll give you my number one candidate. Let's see. Yeah, Plum, I'll do this tomorrow. Okay. And here's the thing, Plum, you watch all our film studies. So you saw the one from last week. It's not just accuracy, it's decision making. And this kind of goes along with what Reed was saying. And this kind of goes along with what, I got to show some love to Max Toscano when he was a writer for And the Valley Shook, and he tried to warn everybody about Max Johnson. He's been more not great than great. Okay. So Max was really bad versus UCLA. There's no other way around it. He was really, really, really bad. And then he was good for the first half against Auburn. Then he fell off a cliff. Tonight, he was really bad. He was bad versus McNeese. So we have two good games of Max Johnson. Central Michigan, he was prolific. Then against Mississippi State, he was pretty good there too. Some of the throws were lucky. The Cole Taylor touchdown was very lucky. The Trey Palmer busted coverage was somewhat lucky. His first touchdown to Kayshon in that game was elite. Not good, not great, elite. So Max has some eliteness to his game. Ironically, though, there is a clear clear mental wall with Max Johnson that's there. Okay. And it's evident. It's evident, right? Where he does not deal with adversity well. Some of it, Plum, we have a big enough sample size to say this about Max Johnson now. And I tweeted this out. It got a few retweets. I tweet a bunch, but I don't have a whole lot of followers. I don't really care either. I don't love Twitter as a platform all that much. But I tweeted this out, and I also shared this during the chat during the game. Max and Trey Palmer have no chemistry. Okay, some of it is Trey Palmer's not that great of a receiver. We saw Max and Dre link up. Once again, I was really high on Dre Jenkins leading into the season. Dre has had a few solid games. I do agree that he doesn't need to be the starter, right? Max's wide receiver rotation is too big right now. And I just think it's time to take Trey out of the rotation. They just never connect. It's never smooth. Even when they do connect, the ball is bobbled or the ball is slightly behind or Trey drops it or Max is a half second too late. It's just not there. It's just not there. Okay? So Jared was at the game. Stadium playing call in Baton Rouge at the end of the game. That stung. And sometimes, Jacob, this is part of the issue as well. You can kind of force the issue. Okay? Please no politics. Please no politics. Please no politics. Okay? Just don't do that. Please. I'm asking you nicely. Okay? There's enough frustration to go around right now. Moscona and T-Bob are drunk. I know both of them. I should have a drink. I haven't even had a drink tonight myself. Okay, Saban. Cool. You got me. Max has a noodle arm. It takes 10 minutes to make his decision. It's inaccurate all the time. I can't keep watching. It's why isn't Nuss starting? I think Nuss will eventually get some snaps at some point. Okay, bring back Saban. Okay. That's your boy Kennedy. I do like your avatar, though. Those are my 3 favorite things in the world. I will say this, Lee. I should start a political channel. So all you guys want to talk politics, I should start a political channel, right? I used to cover Capitol Hill in D.C. for a week, and then I was like, put me back into sports. I will say this, on a brighter note, Trey Murphy, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is our year, Pels fans. This is our year. Oh, God, William's here. Oh, no. William was telling us about his fist fight with his girlfriend's stepdad last week. Kirby is not going anywhere. Kirby's going to win the national championship this year. Bourbon night for me. The battle of the bourbons, right? So Desmond sent $5 to my number 1 candidate. So now that puts us at $35 away from my number 1 candidate. What's kind of crazy is because Bama lost tonight, Matt Corral is now the heavy favorite to win the Heisman. He's at minus 200 to win the Heisman right now. Bryce Young's at plus 300. The next highest rated favorite right now is Kenneth Walker III. Number one candidate fund. Okay, we're close. We only need 15 more dollars for my number one candidate. And I think it's actually pretty clear who the number one candidate is. Okay. Oh, please don't tell me Nebraska lost. Did Nebraska choke it away again? They did, and the line was 2.5. How does Vegas know this? How does Vegas know Michigan was going to win by 3? How do they freaking know? Notre Dame also won. I was going to play 3 games late. The 3 games I was going to play was Utah USC over that hits. I was also going to take Michigan minus 2.5 and Notre Dame minus 1, and they both won tonight, 32-29. God, Reed, you're right. Max missed so many throws tonight. Okay. Frank Wilson. I like it. Huh? So here we go. I would like Frank Wilson to be back on the staff. I don't think he should be the head coach. I will say this. Frank Wilson is probably the best non-coordinator coach in LSU history. He's up there. He's definitely in the top 5. I don't. Joe Brady's a coordinator to me. I like Frank a lot. I would like to have him back on staff. I just don't think you need to go FCS for a top 5 job. Okay? So my number one candidate is Lane Kiffin. Okay? I understand that you guys wanted some deep, serious sleeper. If we get to 100 in super chats, I'll give you a deep, low radar sleeper that no one has mentioned, and he has heavy, heavy Louisiana ties, and he is currently in the NFL. Okay? And it's not Joe Brady. Okay? My number one candidate is Lane Kiffin, and there's a lot of reasons why. Okay? Look, we can Lane train emoji, whatever, but here's the first thing with Lane Kiffin that I like a lot. He's not won anything yet, okay? And a lot of people think, okay, we want to go out and get Jimbo Fisher because he's proven he can win a national championship, and he's proven he can win at LSU as a coordinator. I tend to think the opposite. Lane has been more Jimbo has been more bad offensively than he's been good offensively, and that dates back to last season. Okay, so Lee Walk says Lane Kiffin's teams won't have a defense. Well, that's simply not true. He's coaching at Ole Miss, who historically has never had a defense. Now, they've had good defensive players like Patrick Willis, Robert Kimdichie, who wasn't really that good, but still, they've had good players. But Ole Miss is not an attractive place for defensive players, period. Also, the best defenses of all time normally feature the 5 stars. You can coach up offense more than you can coach up defense. I truly do believe that. Okay, so the first thing is Lane Kiffin has not won anything. So that means he is hungry to get to a college football playoff. Obviously, Ole Miss is in a 10 times better spot than where they were with Matt Luke. So the first thing is Lane Kiffin's obviously really talented. The second thing is he's familiar with LSU. The third thing is Lane Kiffin is very familiar in the SEC. Also, even though Lane Kiffin is a guy who even though Ole Miss is not a rival, we are taking a coach away from an SEC West school that's going to be giving us issues from this point forward. Even if we hire a superstar coach, Lane Kiffin is going to occasionally beat us. He's that talented of a coach. Now, there are some major flaws with Lane Kiffin. Obviously, he can run his mouth too much versus Alabama. Well, the good news is that he's learned from that. He's learning when to take the foot off the gas pedal. This is a guy who has learned a ton of lessons. There's a certain level of arrogance with Lane Kiffin, but which head coach is not arrogant? Mark Stoops is arrogant in many ways. Now, he's not publicly arrogant, but he does tend to be a little bit of a, I guess you could say, know-it-all per se. So that's part of the reason why I like Lane Kiffin. The second thing is Lane Kiffin is an offensive mastermind. We don't have to always worry in the back of our head, well, what's going to happen to the offense if Jake Peetz gets a new job? Well, Lane Kiffin coaches the more important side of the football, and we don't have to worry about replacing coordinators, which even if Ed Orgeron succeeded, you are always going to have to worry about replacing good enough coordinators. The third thing is Lane Kiffin is a very progressive coach. The way football is going and the direction that the game is moving is more aggression on fourth down, more pass-happy offense, more effective runs out of shotgun. How you as a play caller, can you affect the other team's safeties? How much simpler can you make the game for your offenses? Lane Kiffin is arguably the best in the SEC at all those different things. Now, of course, he's not a defensive coach, or the defensive coordinator is going to be a big deal. But the biggest thing I like about Lane Kiffin is he is aggressive on fourth down. It seems like it is a very minor thing, but we would be in a different spot talking about Ed Orgeron right now if he was better on fourth down decision-making. This is just my personal preference. I know Lane Kiffin's going to be aggressive on fourth down. That might not be as important to you. That is higher up on my list. I like a coach that's aggressive on fourth down. I like an edgy coach who doesn't play to lose. He plays to win. And that's something that I really, really like about Lane Kiffin. So, yes, there is the immaturity. Yes, there is all these different things surrounding Lane Kiffin, including his failures at Tennessee, his failures in the NFL, his failures at USC. So the freak what? Okay. Our last coach won us a national championship, and he went 3-25 at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin can win a national championship at LSU. Could you imagine Walker Howard playing the Matt Corral role with LSU? It would be a killer. So obviously, the first thing is, would Lane Kiffin want to come to LSU? That's a personal preference. If he wins a national championship at Ole Miss, he will have a statue built out of him in front of the school in less than 2 seconds. So that's the thing. But I think in his deep hardest of hearts, he knows that he can't win a national championship at Ole Miss. Also, his contract's currently at $4.5 million. You would have to get up to $6.5 million a year, $7 to get him to Baton Rouge. I think he's worth it. I do. So he is my number one candidate. I know a lot of you want Billy Napier because we do have a lot of viewers in the 337. I like Lane a lot. I'm sorry, I just do. I believe in Lane. In fact, my two top candidates for the Arkansas job, and I was doing Arkansas radio at the time, was Lane Kiffin and Sam Pittman. That was number one and number two for the Arkansas job. And Lane Kiffin would have gotten the Arkansas job if he chose Arkansas, but he ended up choosing Ole Miss. Okay. I don't think so, Lee Chan. I don't think so. Okay, Silo. Tell me when Lane Kiffin was supposed to be Nick Saban. Tell me. Tell me. Was it when he was a 14-point underdog this year? Was it when he was a 20-point underdog last year? You're supposed to lose to Bama and Saban. Okay? You want to know why Texas A&M beat Alabama tonight? Because Texas A&M has some 5 stars. In fact, Texas A&M has hit on every 5-star that they've gotten outside of Desmond Demas. Legit, every single one of their 5-star recruits have panned out, and all of them have also exceeded expectations. So, you got to have some dudes. A&M at the very least has some dudes. Ole Miss doesn't really have much. They have obviously a really elite quarterback, but they have good running backs. They have good receivers. Not as good as what they had last year, though. Kiffin coaches his guys up. He lost by far his best receiver, by far his best tight end. His best running back wasn't healthy today, and they were still able to run the football. Okay? TJ, what'd it do? So Lane's my number one candidate. Lane's my number one candidate. Obviously, if you guys want to talk Urban Meyer, I did a whole video on Urban Meyer earlier this week. I'd rather get a coach who is peaking right now. Urban Meyer is not peaking, but Urban Meyer's peak is higher than anybody's. His peak is as high as Saban. Okay, but you're not getting that guy. Okay, you're not. Art Briles or Hugh Freeze. Art Briles simply is not going to be the coach. And Mark, welcome to the channel, by the way. I like the fit, man. You got the fresh suit on. Art Briles, knowing LSU's direct Title IX issues, it's just not going to happen. Now, Scott Woodward probably doesn't give a rip about morals, but he wants to hire the best football coach. Art Briles is really, really talented. But what is he doing now? I don't even know what Art Briles is doing now. I would prefer Kendall Briles over Art Briles at this point, but no. Hugh Freeze would be more likely. Hugh Freeze is in my top 10. I'll tell you that. But once again, I think you got to make Lane say no. This is an interesting name right here. Mel Tucker from Michigan State. So Mel Tucker's dominated the transfer portal. He's got the best running back in college football right now. Michigan State is the team that has exceeded expectations more than anybody in college football right now. Maybe outside of Arkansas, no. Still, Michigan State's playing really good. Mel Tucker's a great story, but Mel Tucker's also a coach who's not aggressive on 4th down. He had one of the worst punts I think I've ever seen today. And that's just a non-negotiable for me. Guys, I know I'm different than we're all different. There's different things that we like about different coaches, right? Aggression on fourth down is no longer a negotiable for me. That's part of the reason why I'm a big Lane Kiffin fan. Now, there's some recklessness involved in that. So be it. I'm so tired of seeing the LSU Tigers. Think about our brand. Our brand is aggression, right? Our brand is exotic. LSU's brand is known for just wild. And it's ironic that our team is so cowardly. Our team is so soft. Our team is so static. Our team is so predictable. Okay. I hate that. I hate that. Right. Can't stand it. I cannot stand it. Yeah. Bijan's a beast, dude. Great game from Texas today. I will say this for those that had Texas +3, cheers. Kendall Browse and Will Muschamp? No, we'll do better than that. We'll do better than Kendall Browse. Kendall will get a head coaching job, and we'll see what happens with that. Cunningham, I know you were there. I was waiting on you to tune in. Jared was also there. We had a lot of viewers actually at this game, and that's part of it is so many LSU fans make that trip to Lexington. Ryan Nielsen from the Saints, that would be disastrous. I don't think Ryan Nielsen would be in the top 25 coaching candidates, but I like it. We do not have Vandy on the schedule right now. We would beat Vandy by 4 touchdowns, though. Doug Peterson? No, not Doug Peterson. Also, Doug Peterson, the way that things ended in Philly makes me know that wherever he goes, he wants to go to a job where it's comfortable. The LSU job is not comfortable. It's a tough job. You could win big, but it's a tough job. A lot is demanded out of you. I've heard about Bill O'Brien, not my favorite choice. I agree. But yeah, we're not going to do Ryan Nielsen. That's not going to happen. Ooh. Let me show you guys this. Let's do a quick. You could be this person right here. Look at this. Someone had this money line, $569,000 to win 105K. Oh man, to see Alabama lose to Texas A&M, I would be sick. We get to Eric Bieniemy of the Chiefs back to back. I think both of you guys are new to the channel, and I say this every time with Eric Bieniemy. He's going to get an NFL head coaching job. It's I'm sorry. He's going to get an NFL coaching job. That's all there is to it. Okay. So he's not going to come down to the college level. Okay. At some point, Eric Bieniemy is going to get an NFL job. Okay. Yeah. NFL job, hands down. It doesn't make any sense for him to leave the NFL. He's going to get an NFL job. Deion Sanders is going to get the Florida State job. Bill, you know I love you, but Ray Lewis. I would like to see Ray in some form, like as a I mean, no, he did broadcasting. He wasn't that great. No. Wait, Plum, did you go to the game tonight? I think Jared went to the game tonight as well. Nasser room cost almost $100. I'm praying I don't get bed bugs. T. Martin? Brandon Staley? Booger McFarland. Okay, here's what we're not going to do. I don't think it's good for anyone for us to start talking about Booger McFarland. Deion Sanders is going to get the Florida State job, and he's going to wait till that job goes up. He's not going to take LSU over Florida State. Huh? No, I agree with you, Mark. It's just I don't want Ray Lewis. But once again, I do get Eric Bieniemy a lot. He's going to get an NFL job. And honestly, once again, this is my bold opinion, and it's not LSU related. Andy Reid will resign as the head coach of the Chiefs at the end of this season and hand the keys to Eric Bieniemy. Knowing Andy Reid's health issues recently and the horrible legal situation that is coming towards his family with the Kansas City Chiefs, I think Andy Reid will step down and Eric Bieniemy will be the head coach of the Chiefs next season. No inside information. I just think that's what's going to happen. And I think Eric Bieniemy is waiting for that to happen. Okay. And I shared this last week. As big of a fan as I am of LSU, LSU would be my dream job. I've always wanted to be a coach. And I would probably leave any situation to be the head coach of LSU. But if I was Eric Bieniemy and I knew I had even a 5% chance of being Patrick Mahomes' head coach, you wait for that because that's the only way you're going to win a Super Bowl is if you have one of those kind of guys. So, that's the end of it with Eric Bieniemy. He's obviously really talented, but he's not leaving the NFL. And the same thing is true with Joe Brady. The same thing is true with Joe Brady. Meyer Bill Belichick's. Fury knocked him out. Is that how it ended? By the way, welcome back, Jonathan. PLM, that was a great game. Mike Leach, no, I'm out on that. So I do take Branson's word at this. Branson is a little bit younger, and he is really well connected with a few of the LSU players. Talking to a few recruits Friday, they said that LSU's coaching situations is extremely unsettling when it's compared to other schools who are not about to fire their coach, like, say, Yeah. So obviously, I know a lot of us were cheering for Alabama, or we were cheering for Texas A&M. Honestly, it's probably not the best thing that Texas A&M won, simply because Texas A&M is going after a lot of these same elite recruits we're going after. So our biggest competitor for Harold Perkins is Texas A&M. Our biggest competitor for Jacoby Matthews is probably Texas A&M right now. So it's a lot easier for Jimbo to make that call. So we probably should have wanted Bama to win tonight, especially considering Texas A&M has no shot at the playoff anyway. Now they have two plays. Yeah, it would be very nice. He would in a heartbeat, Roderick. The difference, though, is if Fickle is going to be your guy, you need him to lose now. Okay. Mike Loxley has had the two worst weeks out of any head coach the last 2 weeks. Now, he did play two teams that are fighting for a college football playoff spot, but out on Loxley. My list right now is probably Lane Kiffin number one. James Franklin is in that top five right there. I do have a very deep sleeper that you guys wouldn't love, so I'll wait. I'll wait a little bit later to share that. Mike Leach reminds me of overweight Gene Wilder. Speaking of Iowa graduates, Gene Wilder. Luke Fickell is obviously an elite coach. I think, would he take the USC job over LSU? Good night, PLG. Get some good sleep, man. Getting a lot of Mel Tuckers, it wouldn't be the worst. Wouldn't be the best either. I don't think Mel Tucker's in my top 5 list. Yeah, so A&M's out of it. So they're not going to make the playoff. But when you beat Bama, that's really good for recruiting. I think you do start Miles Brennan right now. Max is not playing well. This is 6 consecutive quarters where Max has not played well, and that's not good. Okay. And by the way, I don't think I'll be able to go all night because I do have, I don't know if y'all can see it, I do have a little bit of a swollen toothache right now. Jared said Gene Chizik. No. I would take Ray Lewis over Gene Chizik. So anyway, does anyone have any questions about the game tonight? I know a lot of you are just now tuning in. We are roughly towards the 2-hour mark. And you guys know when 2-hour mark happens, we go off the rails, baby. You can ask me a question about anything. Doesn't even have to be football related. No politics, but anything else, I'm on it. It's a good question. I thought we were going to see Sage tonight as well. We got the best uniforms in college football, Aaron. I don't know what you're talking about. I would like to see us use one of our alternates. So the Mississippi State alternates from 2018 or the, 2013 LSU alternates? No, that was the 2013. That would be the 2009 LSU alternates versus Arkansas, the Kayshon Boutte with the gold helmets. I would do it. If LSU wants to reach out to me, I would happily help them with this coaching search. What it do? Miles Brennan has 2 years of eligibility left. He should. You know what's funny? If I was Miles Brennan, okay, if Miles Brennan is watching this right now, or if there's anyone right now that is close to Miles Brennan, a lot of his inner circle would say, look, Miles, you have 2 years of eligibility left, and you should definitely redshirt this year and use those final 2 years elsewhere. I actually disagree. I think right now, and I would normally agree with that, but Miles Brennan, let's just say Miles Brennan was the starter and we only had 1 loss. He would have put up some really big numbers. The issue, though, is Miles Brennan would have shot up NFL draft boards by playing this season because all the elite quarterbacks are playing themselves out of millions. Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler, Malik Willis at Liberty has been mostly fine, but he hasn't necessarily set the world on fire. And Miles Brennan is a pure pocket quarterback. If he would have played decent, he would have worked his way into the 2nd or 3rd round. I'm dead serious. Billy Cannon for LSU. Well, Jared, thank you for the compliment. There's some other good LSU shows. I don't get to watch it, though. I do mostly focus on mine. I do read a lot of different LSU websites, and I do occasionally, watch my friends. I check in on Musso and Mario a bunch. I know I go on their show often now, but I check in on them, and, I check in on some of the other shows. I thought Jordy did a really good interview recently with Walker Howard where he shared that he's going to be an early enrollee. So, yeah, there's a bunch of other good shows. Mine's is just out there. I don't think Corey Raymond's going anywhere. I really do believe that. I think Corey Raymond wants to stay, he'll stay. Corey Raymond's an interesting guy. He's pretty content with where he is right now. There's something to be said about making $650,000 a year. I think that's a salary. But there's something to be said about getting that job and nobody ever mentions your name. So no one ever talks about Corey Raymond when the defense stinks because he's not the defensive coordinator. Corey Raymond also doesn't have to talk to the media. Corey Raymond, while making a 6-figure salary, it doesn't have to worry about public appearances. He can walk into any store, any airport, and not get mobbed for pictures or autographs, and he gets to do so at his alma mater. So, I think if Corey Raymond wants to stay at LSU, he could stay as long as he can. I'm also interested, if worse comes to worse and we just strike out on everyone, I'd be interested in a Corey Raymond coach team. Now, that would be choice that wouldn't be close to the top of my list, but I'd be interested in it. It's not going to happen. Woodward's not going to go the interim route again, but I think Corey would do fine. I'll here. Let me give you my thoughts on. Yeah, that's good, man. T-Bob for head coach. Yeah, put T-Bob up there. T-Bob doesn't hit me up anymore, though. I don't need to shoot him a text. T-Bob and I used to do a podcast together. Are my chats going through, or is the thought of pursuing Lincoln Riley as bad as it gets ignored? Okay. Let me say this since you brought him up. I thought Lincoln Riley, what he did today was probably one of the biggest a-hole moves I've seen a head coach do. He didn't let Caleb Williams speak to Holly Rowe on national television because Oklahoma has a policy where they don't let true freshmen speak to the media. Okay. Now, LSU has the same policy, but if you do play, they will let you speak to the media. Texas A&M had the same thing with Johnny Manziel. So Caleb Williams was not allowed to speak on national media, and he was getting ready to be interviewed on national media, and Lincoln Riley wouldn't let it happen. I don't like Lincoln Riley for this. I think at LSU, you need a media-friendly coach. And Lincoln Riley is notorious for being very brash with the local media. I think that's a little bit different at LSU than it is at Norman. So, Lincoln Riley's a really talented head coach. He can win a national championship at LSU. I just think Oklahoma to LSU is a little too lateral, to the point where I just don't think he would do it. I agree with you there. Les Miles is passing game coordinator. There you go. Did you go to Appalachian State? App State's campus is so freaking beautiful. I didn't get to visit their stadium, but their stadium's freaking beautiful as well. Branson, huh? Well, I'm not saying that Lincoln Riley should not be considered for the job because of it. I'm just not in love with Lincoln Riley, simply because I think if he left Oklahoma, it would be for an NFL job. Oh, you will. There you go. All right, guys, we are 2 hours into this. It is a little bit later. I didn't get good sleep last night because I am dealing with a really bad toothache. So our chances versus Florida. Good question, Carvis. Florida's obviously not great. Wilder got KO'd. So we'll talk some boxing. But really quickly, from Rowlett, Texas, Christopher Smith. Good to hear from you, man. Carr said, I think LSU's got a shot next week. Florida obviously isn't special by any stretch of the imagination. We knew this team was going to take a step back because last year was their year. Florida, a team already with 2 losses, LSU with 3 losses. It sounds like a good 11 a.m. LSU versus Florida kickoff, which obviously sucks, right? So, yeah. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. I didn't get to watch the fight tonight, obviously, because I was here. I'll tell you this. Boxing is in a lot of issues. UFC's just better. I like it better. The one thing I'm not going to like, though, is all this cultural talk about, well, the only way boxing sells, they need Jake Paul. Okay. If you're a boxing fan and you like boxing, enjoy boxing. Who gives a rip that other people don't like your sport? I don't give a rip. So yeah, let me end the poll question here. Let's see. Mason Derulo. I'm kidding. Mason Del Rio. That would have been smooth, though, if your name was Mason Derulo. Kentucky wasn't special at all. They ran the ball the majority of the time. They just flat out whooped our tails. Yeah, it was just simple run plays. Ray Johannes. I love it. I love that name. I know Ray and Mason, I think this is your first time to the chats. YGF, I think you've been in here before. So welcome. Jason, thank you for the generous super chat. Y'all better thank Jason. I was getting ready to sign this thing on off, but we're going all night with a good, sexy $50 super chat. Welcome, Jason. Carl the Cat. You're right about that. Today was an epic day in college football. Okay, so let's go through Jason's look here. Okay. Everyone, round of applause for Jason and the generous super chat. Huh? This is actually pretty funny right here. Callan, you're not the only person that has told me this. I had a lot of my friends in the group chat went to the James Bond tonight instead of watching the LSU Kentucky game. That's the thing, right? Cristobal, Kiffin, and Fickle. Okay. Let's go through all three of these. So, Jason, I know you missed this a minute ago, and for those that don't know, Jason is the guy who took his son on his son's birthday to a tour of Tiger Stadium. And this is what we always say. And every time Jason comes on here, we always bring this up. If you are a dad or a mother watching this channel, okay, be there for your kids. This is a college football channel. I see my analytics. 90% of you are men. And if you do have a child, be a parent for that kid. Be present in your kid's life. I'm lucky enough, not only do I have two parents, I have two parents that live around the corner from me. I am also really close to my girlfriend's parents, and I am losing viewers for doing this. I don't care. Be a great dad for your kid. I always say that, okay? It's so important. It's so important. I've been around some of my friends that didn't have father figures in their lives. So it is very, very, very important. And, you know, my dad was actually a dad for a lot of my friends that didn't have present dads. So, you know, be that person. Be a great dad. Okay. I'm not a dad, so it's kind of weird for me to say that. But still. Now, let's talk about Jason's three candidates here. Lane Kiffin's my number one candidate. Fickle is definitely in my top 5-ish, top 10. I'm not a big Mario Cristobal guy. Look, what he's done at Oregon is great, but does that have more to do with what the Pac-12 doesn't have compared to what Oregon does? Now, don't get it twisted. Top 5 wins this year in college football was Oregon going to Ohio State and handling them. The final score was 42-35, but Oregon dominated that game. However, Oregon also lost to a very mediocre Stanford team, and I'm just not sold on Cristobal. I'm not a big fan of him between the headsets. Also, he didn't win as much as he should have. Yes, he did win a Rose Bowl with them, but they should have done more when they had Justin Herbert. I'm just not as much on Mario train as I am the other two guys here, Jason. But yeah. Cat, please do not curse. I don't know what you're referencing. Nuss is better than Max. Man, I just don't. I don't really have an opinion on that. I haven't seen Nuss yet. But Max is not playing well. Max is not playing well. Here's my issue with Garrett Nussmeier is that let me phrase this the best way I can. He's a little too off platform for me. He's not a quarterback that works within the framework of a play, right? So it's kind of hard as a true freshman to just be great as a scramble drill quarterback, which is that's Nuts' game. Now Nuts is really good. Highest completion percentage of any senior high school quarterback that has ever come to LSU. He's good. And he put up big numbers against high levels of competition. But still. So, Aaron, I do agree with this. You've made this comment a few times, so I'll go ahead and address it now. And we touched on this for a while earlier. And X's and O chat doesn't necessarily work all that great in the live stream. But I do agree with this. You can run a 4-3 or a 4-2, nickel, whatever. You just got to put some variety into it, and LSU just doesn't do that. Okay? Caleb Williams is a true freshman. All right? Yeah. But he's also the number one quarterback prospect. There are exceptions to the rule, right? And let's see a little bit more from Caleb Williams before we crown him the next freaking Jalen Hurts or Baker Mayfield or whoever you want to mention. I think he's better than Spencer Rattler. I felt that way from day one. But every year there's going to be one or two great true freshman quarterbacks. But we would be lying to ourselves if any of you said that you thought Nuss is on the same talent level as Caleb Williams. Now, the funny thing is he can be. He can eventually be a better quarterback than Caleb Williams, but right now he definitely isn't. I don't know many quarterbacks that are better than Caleb Williams, period. He's a special, special talent. Now, Garrett Nussmeier is a talent, but he's not Caleb Williams, right? It's kind of like this. There is a difference between Trevor Lawrence and Matt Barkley. Now, they both were 5 stars, but there is a sizable talent difference. So not all true freshmen are made the same. And Matt Barkley and Trevor Lawrence both started as true freshmen. So, yeah, there's a difference. Good night, Plum. Let us know how that $100 hotel room is tonight, my guy. UCLA and Arizona is close. I'm telling you, if you want to get a raise, if you want to raise your ranking, okay, Jacob, let's do this. Okay, Jacob's a friend of mine. Who really thought Deontay Wilder was going to be Tyson Fury? Tyson Fury is a maniac. He is not a human being. The dude is a freak of nature. Tony! So, and Tyson Fury survived the Drake curse. Let's go through the things that LSU has made look like all-time greats. So in week 1, LSU made UCLA. They made their offense look like the running offense of the LaDainian Tomlinson Chargers. Okay? We made Zach Charbonnet look like Emmitt freaking Smith. Okay? Week 2, we could barely push around McNeese. Week 3, we beat down Central Michigan, but guess what we do in week 4 versus Mississippi State? Well, we win. But then in week 5, we made Bo Nix look like Johnny Manziel. And tonight we made Will Levis, who puts mayonnaise in his freaking coffee, look like Tim freaking Tebow. Exactly, Joe. What I would do if I was LSU, I would go to Walker Howard and say, what would you like? I'm kidding. We'll say this. Didn't Arizona play somebody close last week? Jeremy Albritton talking about Hawaii. The Rainbow Warriors. I was at the Colt Brennan, Georgia game. I felt so bad for Colt Brennan in that game. He had no chance. I agree with this, Ray. Do you think if Lane Kiffin came to LSU, he would stay knowing his history? Okay, where has Lane Kiffin actually bounced around from? Okay, he fell off a cliff because he went from Tennessee to USC to the Raiders. Okay, then he goes from Florida Atlantic. Okay, who thought he was going to stay there forever? Then he goes to Ole Miss. If he gets offered the LSU job, I can understand him staying at Ole Miss. I can, but it's just not the end of the world. All coaches jump around to a certain degree. Reed Kiffin, LSU, what are some of the most notable instances where a head coach moved from SEC school to another? Tommy Tubbs and Dan Mullen. Yeah, Mullen's obviously, the most recent. Sam Pittman, but he went from offensive line coach to head coach. So, yeah, I don't know. Spurrier went from Florida to South Carolina. Will Muschamp went from what? Will Muschamp was what? Auburn to Texas to Florida? Or was it Auburn, Florida, Texas? I don't remember. Houston Nutt. That's right. Arkansas to Ole Miss. That's a good one right there. Deion's name has come up a few times. What does Mickey bring to the table outside of recruiting Nola? We have literally brought in coaches to help coach him. Yeah, Ryan, this is just a good question in general. Obviously, Mickey's done a really good job coaching and recruiting his position. Honestly, we don't, and this is part of the reason why I think and I'm not a member of the LSU media anymore. I would like a very simple question that for people to ask any coaches. What I would do is to the head coach, I would ask every head coach, what roles does Coach X actually have, not only on game day but on the day-to-day operation? I think it is interesting, Ryan, because we just don't know. In the NFL, it's probably a little bit more straightforward. You kind of just coach your position, and that's about it. But how does it actually work? Well, you do have two wide receiver coaches. So, yeah, I don't really know how all that works. I'll do it. I would do it. Joe wants you freeze. I'd be interested. Rain, I'll do this. Welcome, Rain. Can we talk about Tommy Moffitt? Our DBs look as big as the days they came to campus, and so do our linemen. They still all have the baby fat they did in high school. It's kind of hard for me to be critical of a strength coach, but we do have a lot of injuries, and I don't know. Guys, I'm just not on Team Urban. And trust me, I would be the first to tell you that Urban Meyer does have a case as the greatest coach of the modern era. He does have a case, right? His record against Saban head to head is really good. He's really good. I'm a huge fan of Urban Meyer, the coach. I just think his family dynamics right now are very strange. I just, here's the problem with Urban Meyer. Okay, if you're one of the people that's worried about Ed Orgeron's dating, then at the same time feel as if Urban Meyer is a good fit. I don't want anything to do with Urban Meyer. I don't want any more scandals surrounding LSU. Okay, it's just it's 10 years ago. Yes. Okay, he's the best coach in the sport 10 years ago. You know, I, I I just can't do it. I just can't do it. The LSU job can't be an afterthought of your career. Okay, this is the job, right? Urban Meyer, I just don't think he has that same fire in him. Okay, and honestly, think about it this way: it's hard to have that same fire for as long as he's had. Urban's wife defended him. Okay. That still doesn't change the fact that this is a guy with a lot of baggage. A lot. Okay. A guy that actually has left two jobs already at its peak. Okay. Who does that? And then jump into an NFL job. Okay. I just look, I'm not a moralist. I'm not a holier than thou guy. Okay. It's just not who I am. I want a guy that's going to go out there and win, right? But character does matter to a certain degree, and I'm just not in the position to hand Urban Meyer the keys to one of the most powerful organizations the college football landscape has ever seen. Now, once again, peak Urban Meyer would be the best coach for this job, but he's not at his peak. You're grasping for straws, okay? Luke Fickell's best coaching is ahead of him. Lane Kiffin's best coaching is ahead of him. LSU is the new Texas A&M. Yeah, it's pretty sad. Yeah, that's the KO. It's so strange. Dan Mullen's wife is. Those pictures are so strange. Huh? Plus, if Urban gets the job, he's going to want unlimited power. Okay. But what is all 3-3? Who's your next guy if Lane says no? That's where you start getting, Luke Fickell, James Franklin would obviously be interesting names. I would prefer it to be an offensive wizard. So, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like giving my number 25 sleeper. Urban is going to be a dark horse analyst. Cliff Kingsbury. What? This would be a very interesting hire, but no. I don't even know what Rich Rodriguez is doing. He should be the Bama coach, though. That is so crazy that if Rich Rod said yes to Bama, we would have never known about Saban. Associate head coach and offensive coordinator at ULM. Sure. Rich Rod. I was about to say this right here. Sam's about to. I didn't watch a second of the game. Please no to Kevin Sumlin. Please. You want to talk about a guy that has had the best agent of all time? A&M had to give him what was his buyout? It was like his buyout was something like $10 million cash within 60 days. Yeah. So yeah, Bieniemy and Joe Brady are going to be NFL head coaches. It wouldn't shock me if Mel Tucker gets an NFL job either. Willie Fritz is obviously really talented. Obviously, Jamie Chadwell would be the more likely of those two. But yeah, I'll talk about this for a second. On a non-coaching note, what can LSU do to improve? Is stagnant for 2 weeks in a row. Defense can't figure out the run fits. Yeah, Austin, let's start with the defense. The first thing, obviously, is LSU's defense is outdated. I never understood the love that Durante Jones's defense got last week when Bo Nix played his second best game of his career. The best game of his career came against LSU last year. So I never really understood the love for the LSU defense based on last week when we got pushed around by a team that barely beat Georgia State. Then tonight happened. Our defensive scheme is just bad. It's really, really bad. Now, has been stagnant for 2 weeks in a row. Some of that's offensive line. Some of that's just lack of chemistry. Some of that, Austin, is Max is just pressing. He's in his own head right now. So, yeah. Kellen Moore's kind of the same thing. I think he'll get an NFL coaching job. I'll tell you this. Dallas will fire Mike McCarthy before they let Kellen Moore go elsewhere. And Kellen Moore is not leaving to go coach. The difference between Brady and Bieniemy is Bieniemy coaches Patrick Mahomes, right? So Brady's going to be more likely to move elsewhere. Same thing's kind of true with Kellen Moore. He's got Dak Prescott. I just don't think Kellen Moore leaves the NFL when he's been probably the best offensive coordinator in the NFL up to this point. Tony, we just don't know. And this is honestly a really good question here. How much of the D is Jones and how much of it is O? Okay. Well, the first thing is I touched on this in a live stream last week. And this is obviously very key here, Tony. The coordinators aren't allowed to speak to the media. Okay. So that's the thing. Durante and Jake Peets don't speak to the media, whereas other coordinators do. And if we were allowed to speak or hear from those two, we would know more about who does what. So yeah. Let's see here. We are not proven to take a chance on new coaches. We need proven guys to coach the talent we have, which is why we're having issues this year. I agree with that. I just don't think it would be different if Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator with a um, non-offensive coach. So take Kellen Moore, for instance. Kellen Moore is actually calling the plays. Even though Mike McCarthy is an offensive coach, this is very much Kellen Moore's offense. The same thing is true kind of sort of with Joe Brady and Matt Rule. With Bieniemy, how much of it is Andy Reid? How much of it is with Bieniemy? Also, and I've seen a few other tweets with Eric Bieniemy's name on it. This guy is going to get an NFL head coaching job. So yeah, I would go for another college coach before I would get Eric Bieniemy. Okay, but I would like it. I see why O was making $8 million. There's no good coaches. I disagree with that, Chad. I would actually say the opposite. There's plenty of good coaches that would win big at LSU. I mean, think about this. Les Miles' best job was Kansas. Okay. If he had another opportunity that wasn't Kansas, he would have gotten it. I don't know who's going to hire Ed Orgeron to be a coach again. So, yeah. What's that? What is off the bench in AFR? Well, I know what they are. I don't know what your comment means. Why don't we allow what? Dave Veranda. What's up, Victor? I haven't seen you in a minute. LSU gave up 7 yards per play. Okay, 7.7 yards per play. It's truly ridiculous. These yards per play. These yards per play numbers. These yard per play numbers are just so ridiculous. We give up 7 yards per play so much. Do you know how hard it is to give up 7 yards per play? It's really, really, really hard to do that. Okay. But we do. It's pretty crazy. The only games where we didn't give up 7 yards per play in the last 2 years was Mississippi State, Auburn, and last year Vanderbilt and Texas A&M. Yeah, Branson, I also just think, TDP sees, the clock ticking. He knows he can't afford to stay at LSU an extra year because that cuts into what he potentially can do at the next level. Okay. It's just running backs, TDP felt pushed by Kiner and Goodwin, and he had a really good game tonight. Let's see. Billy, you're in here. Oh, no, you're in the halftime chat. Good to hear from you. Hayden, welcome. Zach Arnett and DJ Durkin. How about no to both of those guys with a capital N and a capital O? Okay. No. DJ Durkin has a lot of very interesting bad baggage. No to Zach Arnett. That's not going to happen. Neither one of those guys are in the top 20. Weren't a lot of penalties tonight, which was very interesting. Chris Rodriguez averaged. Here's what's interesting about Chris Rodriguez. Okay. So I want to show you guys this from tonight. All right. This is very, very, very interesting. Okay. So this is a sign that you're not playing well right here. Okay. So I want you to look at Chris Rodriguez's stats right down here. Okay. I got to scroll down with this. Okay. I want you to look at Chris Rodriguez's stats, and I want you to tell me if you notice anything about his stats from tonight. Of course, guy. Huh? Dan Lanning would be interesting. Defensive coaches, so I don't think you guys want a defensive coach. Once again, there are better guys out there than Dan Lanning. Let's see. James Franklin, Cristobal, all those guys would have to tell you no before you would get to Dan Lanning. Okay. So tell me the one thing that you find very interesting about these Chris Rodriguez stats. Okay. And then I'll read a few more of these. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. We want our 3 natties with defensive coaches. Why wouldn't we want one? Well, Les Miles was an offensive coach. So yeah, I mean, I'm not like 1,000% opposed to it, me personally. I just think most people want an offensive coach. Okay. So I'll share this right here. It isn't the fact that they have that Chris Rodriguez averaged 9 yards per rush. The most interesting aspect of his stat line is his long run. Okay. So what makes that number right there from Chris Rodriguez very interesting, it's not the 9.2. There's a lot of running backs that average 9.2 yards per carry. What makes it fascinating was that his run was a long of 22 yards. So what does that tell you? That Chris Rodriguez's numbers here are not cartoonish. There it is. Victor's on the same wavelength. Okay. He didn't have a run that had a cartoonish amount of yards. So like he didn't have like one 99-yard run and his other 15 carries went for like 40 yards, right? So it wasn't the fact that he averaged 9.2 yards per carry. It's the fact that it was an accumulation of yards. So the fact that he averaged 9.2 yards per carry with a long of 22 lets you know what? That he had a lot of really good runs. He had a lot of 8, 9, 15-yard runs. So he was consistent. And a lot of it was bad linebacker play. But I'm hearing a lot of like, well, we didn't fill our gaps well. Well, also our defensive tackles got pushed around a lot tonight, and when they didn't get pushed around, they would over penetrate the hole, which I just don't think you can play the way LSU's defense is played. So go ahead and share this. I was going to do a big video on this topic, but the defining reason why LSU's defense fell off a cliff is that Ed Orgeron made philosophy change to running the 4-3 the way that they run it. I understand that it's easy to pile on Micah Baskerville and Damon Clark, and neither one of them are great players, but part of the reason why Patrick Queen was so daggone good is Dave Aranda did a really good job keeping him and Jacob Phillips clean, okay? Devin White is good enough to be special even if he had bad defensive tackles, but most people aren't that good at linebacker. So, yeah. Also, Neil Farrell did not have a good game tonight. And tackling was bad. But this is part of it. We'll talk about this in a film study tomorrow. Was the missed tackles also were a byproduct of LSU's defensive scheme because we play very flat-footed. Okay? So let's do this. I am getting a little bit fatigued, believe it or not. So if I do get a few super chats in the next 5 or so minutes, I will happily keep this party going. We were going to sign off about like 30 minutes ago, but Jason dropped a huge super chat. So if you super chat right now, we'll keep this party moving. You can also ask me any non-LSU football related question. So once again, yeah, Ryan, guys are starting to play for themselves. William, you always had the most cryptic messages. Branson Cat, thank you so much. When do you want Coach O to be fired and when will he be fired? Okay. Thank you, man. I think he'll get fired in the next 48 hours. I do think it'll happen. Now, I did read somewhere that historically Woodward will let the coach finish out the season, which would make a lot of sense. That would also give Woodward more time to work around the buyout, but we'll see. Yeah, $2, everybody, right now. Scarlett, welcome. So yeah, Branson, let me know. Yeah, Branson, I agree with Mike here. Too much on his buyout. I think they're going to try and finagle away. Now, William, don't give me the honest. So I might not want to know what that is. I don't think he would want to do that. I think he would feel weird knowing how close he was with Orgeron. Oh, Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel said beers on me at Northgate. Are you kidding me? It is kind of wild, right? The weed policy, though, that should change. Yeah, it shouldn't get to the point where Darren Evans is playing as much as he's playing. They'll get 2 more SEC wins before the end of the season, simply because of their raw talent. Obviously, that comes down to the health of Kayshon Boutte, but they have so much talent that I could see them beating Florida and Arkansas or A&M at the end of the season. Once again, it always just evens itself out, Julie, where, when you have as good of talent LSU has, even though the scheme is just awful, a broken clock is right twice a day. I think that's kind of the same thing here. What do I think is going on with Ricks? Hunter, is a really good question. Nothing. Here's the issue with Elias Ricks. The defensive scheme, it's the same thing as last year. The defensive scheme is so bad that defenses don't even need to throw 50-50 balls Elias Ricks' way. So here's a good example here, Hunter, with this question. So last year, the reason why Eli Ricks had that pick six versus Florida is we moved him to the slot, and we had Florida in a position 3rd and 6, and we forced Kyle Trask to throw the ball into traffic, and Eli made a good read on the ball. The issue is we're not putting Kentucky into the positions where they have to make dangerous throws. It's the same thing with the UCLA game. And if there is an Ed Orgeron defender watching this, understand this is why it's wrong to defend Ed Orgeron, is that even Bo Nix, we allowed Bo Nix on the final drive to complete 2 third downs on swing passes to the running back to the left side of the formation. And that was just in the 4th quarter alone. The same thing is kind of true here. We allowed Kentucky to just throw an easy touchdown pass to a running back. So the issue isn't there's nothing wrong with Elias Ricks. He's just in a god-awful scheme. He hasn't played at all the last 2 weeks. He played a lot tonight. It's just there's no reason for Kentucky to throw to him. Why would you do that? Ironically, it's interesting that Greg McElroy was on the call tonight. When LSU played Alabama in the 2011 national championship game, the game plan Alabama wrote on their chalkboard was they were not going to target Morris Claiborne all night, because we scored. One of our few scores in that game was due to a Morris Claiborne interception. So Nick Saban said, look, we're not going to target that guy once because we don't have to. We can win the game without him being Morris Claiborne, right? So it's they take him out every other drive. Yeah, there's just nothing for him to do. There's nothing for him to do. That's the kind of weird thing about it, right? Rain, I don't know about Josh White or Antoine Sampa. Kentucky is just that good. They got a good team this year. They do. It's a good team. I don't even think Coy Moore played tonight. I really don't. I don't think Coy Moore played. He was practicing with the running backs this week. I agree with Scarlett. I do. Well, there you go, guys. I think we can all use a good night's sleep. So I think we're going to go on ahead and pass out together. That sounds kind of weird. But we should get a good night's sleep. I'm definitely sleeping in tomorrow. I have to wake up like 2 times in the middle of the night because I am in a bad amount of pain. I do need to get a tooth removed. I haven't even visited the dentist yet, but it hurts. All right, guys, don't forget film study tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central. We need to be here 7 p.m. Central. I'm not watching the Bengals. You know, it's funny. I don't get to watch the NFL on Sunday. I watch the red zone for like the last 20 minutes of the games because I'm so busy putting together the film study. So 7 p.m. Central time. We will see you tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow Scott Woodward is announcing our next head coach. And we all know who our next head coach is going to be. None other than the great Ted Lasso. We need to go to AFC Richmond and say, look, we need to bring Ted back over to the Americas. Let's do it. It is Complex Power Hour LSU. Bam! We'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central. Let's go.